Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. We're going to continue with our taroscopes. We're going to do a taroscope for the sign of Gemini. This is for people who are Geminis, Gemini rising, or Gemini moon, or if you have a full third house, perhaps, in your chart. Of course, just to point out that we just came out of a Mercury retrograde. Mercury will be direct in July, but it doesn't actually get out of its shadow until July 7th. So things will really start to roll for Mercury and for Geminis after that point. We also have to remember that the north node of the moon is in Gemini. And so information is coming fast and furious. We just had a new moon eclipse in the sign of Gemini with Mercury conjunct the eclipse. So a lot of information. So let's take a look and see. We're going to use we'll do the Oracle first, and then we'll use a tarot deck. And I'm using a deck called the Soul Cards. Did I do with the cover of these? I'm going to try to use different decks for different signs this month. Hold on, let me find the cover. So this is the cover. It's called Soul Cards 2, and this is not an oracle. Well, I guess it's an oracle deck, but there's no information, right? There's you get the little book that goes with it, but there is no information about the specific cards. So this is really a totally sort of psychic interpretation of the cards. So let's see what cards come up. We'll do 3 of these cards to see what we need to be aware of. This is for Gemini. Gemini in the month of July. Gemini in the month of July. What do we need to be aware of, Spirit? What do we need to be aware of? Show us what Gemini rising, Gemini moon need to be aware of. Okay, we have this card as the first card. And I'm going to pick all 3 and then put them together because there are no words for these cards. So let's just look at it. Here we go. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so as I see these cards here, this is the message. And I'm going to tell you what my perspective is on this. But these cards, or any of the cards actually, as you look at them, see what you get from them. I mean, I have my perspective, but you might have a different perspective. There might be something in the card that goes, oh, wait a minute, that's not exactly how I would read it. Trust your own intuition on this stuff. So this is the first card here, and we have a person with what looks like a little ball of light in their hands, and they're looking at it lovingly, and with a certain amount of amazement. The interesting thing about Gemini is Gemini rules the hands, right? The arms and the hands, right? The dexterity is very Gemini. It's a very Gemini thing. And so to me, this looks like perhaps a realization of your own ability to do some hands-on healing, right? You know, what is this? You're looking at this ball of light within your own hands, perhaps coming from your own self. The second card that was chosen is this card, and we have this woman who we could see that she's under the earth here. Is this a mountain or is this an ocean? You can't really tell, but there is this sort of self-contained introspective energy, but through that process We have a lot of movement and a lot of motion, as if something is about to come out. Something is about to, the energy is moving so that things are moving for you. And then we have this card here. And here we have somebody holding the light over, incidentally, their own heart. And so, Gemini, these cards say to me that you are discovering the value and your own healing ability. But also, it's time to make your light shine. The fact that Mercury was retrograde in Gemini was an opportunity to really go in and examine the information coming out. The information, and not just the information about what's happening in the outer world, because the outer world is simply an expression of what's going on in our inner world. You could look at the outer world and say, oh my God, look, that's happening, that's happening, that's happening. Or you could look within and find the core of that. And Gemini, it's time for you to come out and do your healing work. The time is now. It's time to shine your light. That's what those cards say to me. Now, let's look at the tarot deck. I'm going to be using the Fountain deck. And we will see what is in store for Gemini for the month of July. Gemini for the month of July. Mercury, your ruling planet, starts in Gemini, in its shadow. On the 7th, it moves out of its shadow and continues on until Mercury moves into Cancer on July 11th. Incidentally, next year, July 11th, is the second Pluto return for the United States. So, I happen to know that because I was looking at the Pluto return for the U.S. We did it in class, so it was pretty interesting. We did it from the perspective of astrology and Kabbalah. My Kabbalah class looked at it, and my astrology classes looked at it. Okay, so this is what is going on for Gemini. Gemini. Gemini always reminds me of butterflies. It's like lightly touching upon, drawing the sweetness of life, and then flittering along. And really, that's the function of Gemini anyway. Gemini is here to have us have experiences in life, to be curious, to reach out, to, generally not a particularly introspective sign, but forced to be introspective through the Mercury retrograde in Gemini. Very powerful. Very frustrating for some Geminis, but ultimately very powerful. All right, so let's see. Spirit, what do we have to say to Gemini suns, Gemini moons, Gemini ascendants? What do we have to say? All right. I think we're done. Okay. Whoops. I almost dropped all the cards on the floor. Okay. All right. Okay. We have the Seven of Swords. Seven of Swords. This was in the Taurus as well. I'm going to just continue. Let's see, because nothing's coming right now. Crossed by the Two of Cups. Two of Cups. It's interesting because here we see somebody's taking the swords away, right? They're pulling the swords away and only leaving two. Oftentimes this card is seen as, somebody's doing some underhanded things, but I don't always read it that way. Sometimes I read it as though all the extraneous stuff is being pulled away. All of the other stuff that sort of all around you and distracting you, because of course Gemini is easily distracted, right? Um, is being taken away, and what's being left are the two swords. So the two sides of an issue, which of course is Gemini. Gemini is all about the dark and the light, right? It's the sign of the twins. It's the sign of duality. And so we have this energy of this duality, two swords, swords being mind, right? Swords being air, crossed by the Two of Cups. Another two, right? The Two of Cups is about relating. And so when everything is stripped away and it's just the two things are left, the challenge is, how do we relate? How do we come from a heart-centered place when we are standing in our separate and distinct sort of perspectives that are so totally different, but yet we have to learn how to relate through it. So the challenge is, how do you talk to somebody who completely does not agree with you? How do you relate to somebody who completely does not agree with you? The challenge is to love that person. And you don't have to agree to love somebody. You can just love them. I have people in my family who love Donald Trump. And these people in my family, I love them. And I do not love Donald Trump. Can I love them despite the fact that they are choosing something that's antithetical to everything that I stand for? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. I can. It's not easy, but I can. Because love brings us together. Love is a force that draws us together. And the air, the energy of air and the energy of the mental body separates things. So there has to be a balance between the separation and the coming together. The separation and the coming together. Let us see what is underneath it. We have the Queen of Cups. Interesting, this was in the Taurus reading. The Queen of Cups is about the need to nurture, the need to love. Now, the Queen of Cups is often associated with the sign of Scorpio, but also associated with the sign of Cancer. And it's that energy. It's that ability to take care, both self-care and a willingness to nurture others. Let's see, in the past, we have the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords, of course, is air, and we're talking about an air sign. But the Queen of Swords is a queen that is very powerful. And she's powerful because she has gone through a lot in her life. She has good judgment, and she has made decisions. And once a decision is made, you can't go back on it. And that's something that probably air signs more than anybody else understands, right? So we have the Queen of Swords in the past. Judgments have been made. Things have come down. Decisions have been made. So for many of you, I think there's already decisions been made in your life. Maybe what is your next direction? Let's see what's in the sky. We have the Page of Swords. So there's great wisdom in the Queen of Swords. In the sky, we have the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords is somebody who's just learning how to use their discernment. Just learning how to use their discernment. It's important to keep your ears open, right? To be aware of your environment here and to look for sort of the whispers on the wind. Keep your inner ears open to what is out there. You will get information. You will get the information that you need if you keep your ears open. Now, the one thing about this Page of Swords that I like is that his sword is small, right? In the Rider-Waite deck, you have the page with this giant sword and he can barely hold it up, right? He's just learning. He doesn't really know how to use it. But this guy knows how to use this sword because it's small, it's his size, right? You might have to take an action, a quick action, to do something. Now, I don't know what that is because I haven't seen the next card. So let's see what the next card shows. The Chariot. The Chariot. So moving forward on your journey, on your soul's journey. I think this really connects to those cards that we got from this deck, the healing stuff, right? This is going on your journey. This is your soul's work. Healing. Healing. North Node in Gemini. Calling all Geminis. How it's seen from the outside. It may seem that to others that you're being a little opportunistic about things, but it's okay for you to it's okay for that. If it's done in the right perspective, from the right place. The fact that the Queen of Swords is in the past says to me that this is something that you've been thinking about a lot. And while you may not be all that comfortable about initiating and going out there into the world and doing what needs to be done, it's time. Domestic situation. The Four of Wands. Bunch of people on the beach. That sounds good, right? It is July here in the Northern Hemisphere. Celebration. So I think at home and in your domestic situation, there's going to actually be quite a bit of fun. And if, Geminis love fun. Hopes and fears, the Four of Coins. You're a little worried about resources. You're a little worried. I don't know how worried Gemini generally is about resources. They tend to flip from one thing to another. And of course, I'm saying this, and you might say, I'm a Gemini, and I'm not like that. The energy of Gemini is like that. It's like opportunity. When the nectar is done and that flower, goes to the next flower, goes to the next flower, goes to the next flower. So it's always hoping that there's another flower to garner nectar from, right? And I think that when you get caught up in, oh my God, are the resources going to be there for me? You actually sort of block yourself. You actually block yourself. Let's see the outcome. And we have the Temperance card. We have the Temperance card. Interestingly enough, this is the card associated with Sagittarius. When I did Taurus, the card at the bottom was a Scorpio card. And now we have the Temperance card. So the Temperance is about not getting caught up in the extremes, something Gemini can do. So you don't want to necessarily be on one side or the other. You want to be aware of both sides, but you want to walk down the middle. You want to walk the straight and narrow path for yourself. Underneath it, we have the Moon, right? This is another dual thing. The Moon is another duality here, right? We have our subconscious and our conscious part of the Moon. We have our wild animal side of the Moon, and we have our spiritual side, reflection of the sun, right? The Strength card next, and then the Eight of Coins. So this is a time of spiritual initiation for Gemini. You are leading the way. Gemini North Node, you are leading the way, the direction forward for all of us to evolve our emotional bodies. Just stay focused on the path in front of you, one step in front of the other. The challenge is to keep a compassionate heart. Now that all the extraneous stuff has been pulled away, you will be expected to take an action. It does not have to be a big, dramatic action. Just one step, one foot in front of the other. All right, Gemini, I hope you enjoyed that. Like and subscribe. And I will see you again next month for your Tarot Scope for August for Gemini, Gemini Rising, and Gemini Moon. Take care. Much love. Namaste.